Starfield is in dire straits at this very moment. One of the biggest and only AAA exclusives to come out this year for Xbox had a great release, and now it's all over. The sobering reality is that players don't see Starfield in the same way they did Skyrim, but why? And does this point to bigger problems at Bethesda as a whole? I think so. So we're gonna get into all that today. Let's get started. Starfield is losing players at an alarming rate. In the second month of the game being out, it has seen a 66.5% drop in players having the player base. But compared to other games in the genre, this isn't uncommon, right? Fallout 4 saw a player drop of 58%, and Skyrim itself saw a 30% drop in concurrent players. So obviously, this is something to be expected. Single-player games aren't unlimited sources of content. Eventually, you hit the end. So it makes sense for these games to not always be able to keep players engaged forever, right? Well, actually, Starfield is very different in this case. Firstly, Todd Howard said of Starfield that, quote, "It's intentionally made to be played for a long time. It's one of the things we've learned from our previous games," Howard said, from Skyrim, from Fallout, that people want to play them for a very long time, and Starfield is failing to do that. Why is that? Well, to help answer that question, we need to understand the issues the game is having connecting with its target audience, which for a Bethesda game shouldn't be this hard to find. As another unique factor against Starfield's case that everything's fine, nothing to be worried about, this is totally normal as their house is just burning down around them,
this is fine,
is that the reception of games like Skyrim and Fallout 4, their user scores are either mostly or overwhelmingly positive on Steam right now, whereas Starfield's user scores are now mixed. And we aren't just talking about PlayStation fanboys review bombing the game, we are talking about real players who are simply disappointed with a game that promised so much. So let's hear what they're saying. Honestly, I said these things about Starfield at launch, and man, it feels so good to be vindicated about this vid calling Starfield the most overhyped game ever. But hey, I'm not gonna toot my own horn anymore. I'm gonna let the consensus of players speak for me. Not gonna go through all of them, but just the ones that sum up my thoughts perfectly. Quote, "A game about space in which your ship is nothing more than set dressing for storage containers and an optional, extremely simplistic arcade-style minigame where you fly your ship in a line while holding the trigger long enough for every AI to blow themselves up by flying directly into your path. A game about exploration that delivers the thrill of opening your menu, selecting the fast travel option, clicking to fast travel to a star system, loading, then opening your menu, clicking to fast travel to a planet, loading, then answering the same NPC dialogue at every planet before you're treated to another loading screen to finally land on the planet. An immersive RPG in which every door in every colony is a loading screen, and firing an infinite stream of bullets around citizens' heads in the middle of the city is apparently just another Tuesday in America for the New Atlanteans, as they are completely unbothered by the frag grenades going off all around them and continue to partake in every colonist's favorite activity, walking aimlessly into walls. I never in my life thought that I would write a negative review for a BGS game. The magic of BGS games is it makes you feel big in a big world. This game makes you feel small in a small world that is pretending to be big. That magic feeling of go anywhere, be anyone, do whatever you want, choose any side you desire is gone. We love BGS games because the world, the freedom, and the lore makes up for whatever the main story lacks. Nobody buys BGS games for the awesome main story. We buy them for the awesome world, freedom, and lore. We get the games to make the worlds our worlds, and that's the Bethesda magic this game doesn't have. This game just doesn't have any of that. It does in theory, but not in practice. The storyline is very linear and forced. Your actions don't really matter at all. You can't help any faction win over any other in any kind of meaningful way. You cannot shape the game world. If this is the future formula for BGS titles, then it's over, everyone. Rest in peace, Bethesda magic. So hey, I'm not gonna pretend I was objectively right, but I do think most agree with me that Starfield is just kinda mid. So at this point, with this kind of reception happening to your game, you need to do something, anything, to save your reputation. What could we do? I know! Let's us, Bethesda, argue with those who wrote the negative reviews and tell them they're wrong! Just for context, all the stuff I just read to you previously, these are the Bethesda responses to those complaints. This is just one that kind of sums them all up. So strap in, motherfuckers. Hi there, thank you for taking the time to provide your review, and we're sorry to hear that you were disappointed with encountering many loading screens while playing. While there may be loading screens in between fast traveling, just consider the amount of data for the expansive gameplay that is procedurally generated to load flawlessly in under 3 seconds. We believe that shortcomings will not hinder our players from getting lost in the world we created. They continue. Starfield is an RPG with hundreds of hours of quests to complete and characters to meet. Most quests will also vary on your character's skills and decisions, massively changing the outcome of your playthrough. Try creating different characters with backgrounds and characteristics that clash, or are a positive of your previous character. You'll feel like you're playing a totally different game. Put points and different skills from a character you previously created, and you're now faced with completely different decisions to make and difficulties to encounter. There are so many layers to Starfield that you will find things you never even knew were possible, even after playing hundreds of hours. Even after completing the main story, your adventure doesn't end. You can continue on a New Game Plus to keep exploring Starfield and all that's out there. I do love when you give substantive feedback to someone and they just respond, nuh-uh. And don't worry, I did look it up. A positive is a word, but it's used incorrectly in their own response. Not only are Bethesda just acting like children and telling players they're just not playing the game correctly, they apparently write like children too. Bethesda is a company that has lost all its luster. Only its most cult-like and die-hard fans are willing to defend them at this point. In addition, their childish responses to many players who are giving honest feedback is laughable. Any goodwill this company had is gone now. But I said at the start of this video that Starfield has now shown brightly the worst aspects of a company who was already terrible even before Xbox got them. So I don't want to hear, oh my god, he's a PlayStation fan. But honestly, can we all admit, finally, that Bethesda maybe, probably, possibly just got lucky with Skyrim? That Bethesda is nothing more than a scratch-off lottery winner? Most rich people in this world didn't get there through sheer skill and determination. Some did, maybe, but most got there by being in the right place at the right time. They got lucky. But if you need proof, I'll give it to you. I'm going to dive deeper into Bethesda and how they simply squander chance after chance, talent after talent. There are a lot of factors to consider when discerning how Bethesda lost their way and are now a company that isn't going to go under financially anytime soon. But in terms of the gaming landscape, they aren't the players they were before. Few after playing Starfield are gonna sit here with a straight face and try to tell me that Bethesda is still the groundbreaking, innovative company that made Skyrim. Bethesda has always made excuses for their buggy and shoddy work. They always relied on modders to actually fill their games with substance, and honestly, in my opinion, Bethesda was never really that good to begin with. Now, that's a lot to go over, so if you'll permit me, I want to show you guys the rise and fall of Bethesda Game Studios in my next video.